Surprise, surprise, the Watchtower is appealing the decision in Norway that caused them to lose their religious status and therefore lose their state funding. The reason why this happened in Norway primarily is because the Watchtower shuns children. They have done this since 1951, where a child who commits some sin and is decided by the elders not to be repentant will be shunned by everyone in the congregation. It is a horrific hate crime, a crime against humanity, and a terrible, terrible thing to do to a child. And Watchtower has been doing this for many years. Norway said, nope, not having that. And so they lost their state funding and they lost their ability to perform marriages. Now, here's what's interesting about this. First, the Watchtower loses. Then, right after they lose, Mark Sanderson, governing body member, gets on the JW broadcast, the update, wearing a tie with the colors of the Norway flag. Coincidence? I think not. And announces a change that they no longer are going to shun children, that now parents are going to be responsible for trying to bring their children back to Jehovah. The elders will be there to help if need be, but that the child will not be shunned unless they persist in their behavior. Now, what he actually said is the elders won't come in and have a judicial committee unless he continues to persist in the behavior despite the admonition of his parents. And then right after they make that doctrinal change, new light from God after losing in Norway, they're appealing the decision in Norway. It's on a JW press release from March 28th. Isn't that interesting? They lose. Mark Sanderson, wearing the colors of the Norway flag on a tie, announces that they're no longer shunning children, and they appeal the decision. What does that tell you about the Watchtower? If you still think that they believe any of this stuff that they teach Jehovah's Witnesses, I mean, you just have serious blinders on. Your head is in the sand. They made a change to a doctrine that has been in place since 1951 for one reason and one reason alone, in my opinion, so they can appeal in Norway and get their funding back. Now, here's why that is just ridiculous. According to the doctrines that they teach Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses are taught by the Watchtower, by the governing body, that all the nations are in the hand of Satan. They quote Jesus where he said that all the governments are in the hands of the wicked one. That's what they teach. All governments are from Satan, ruled by Satan, in opposition to God. And rather than just say, we are God's chosen people, we're going to do things the right way, we will not change our doctrine no matter what, because Satan, the government, is trying to make them change it. They sue to appeal in order to be able to take Norway's money, Satan's money. They are literally suing the devil under their own doctrinal beliefs in order to take his money. Think about that. It's not like the witnesses have lost the right to exist as a group. They haven't lost that. Norway didn't say that. Norway just said, we're not going to provide funding to a group that shuns children. And I do not disagree with that decision. Children have no choice. They can't opt out of the religion. There's nothing they can do. They're at its mercy, and it doesn't have much of that. So I agree with the Norway decision. They should not be receiving state funding if they engage in this kind of terrible practice. They should not be able to be considered a registered religion in the eyes of the state and be given all of these privileges because of that. That sounds like the right decision to me. But it doesn't mean that they're being persecuted. It doesn't mean that they can't exist. They can still go to their kingdom halls. They can still teach. They can still preach. They can still do the things they want to do. The state just isn't going to fund them in doing it anymore. But that's not good enough for Watchtower. They want the devil's money. And so they sued, lost, appealed. Well, they're about to appeal. So we'll see what comes of that. Now, the Watchtower has always said that the reason why they're so litigious, because they sue all the time, is because of Paul's example showing that we can use the legal system to our benefit. But looking back on that, that doesn't really work, because Paul didn't sue Rome. Rome arrested Paul, and Paul had to appear before the courts. The apostles had to appeal before the Sanhedrin. They were literally physically dragged in front of it, and so used that opportunity to speak the truth as they believed it to be about Jesus Christ. That's a very different thing than suing a country because you want its money, or appealing to its courts because you want its money. That isn't what Paul did. That isn't what the apostles did at all. But that's what the Watchtower does. And the fact that they are so quick to change a doctrine that's been around for how many years now? 70 plus years? Just to get the funding back from this country. And I have no doubt that once that precedent is set in Norway, that's going to happen in other countries too. Because other countries, especially European nations, they're going to look at these things. This does not happen quietly, and they're going to agree with what Norway does. They have much stronger personal protection laws than like we do here in the U.S., where religions are extremely protected over and above the members. So the Watchtower's probably afraid that the Norway thing is going to happen in a lot of other countries, and they're going to lose their funding and their religious status in a lot of other places. This is not the first time this has happened. So they're softening up in order to hang on to their money. And it also, as a byproduct, makes it easier for them to hang on to members, because they can claim they're a nicer, softer, sweeter religion than they really are. But now here's the insidious part. This is where Watchtower uses weasel words. This is my opinion. This is how it works, having grown up in the culture of Jehovah's Witnesses. Officially, the elders will not disfellowship a minor. Officially. Unofficially, if everyone finds out that this minor has done something that in the eyes of Watchtower is a gross sin or whatever, they will soft shun the child. Now, the child is not formally, officially being shunned, but just like in the religion, there were marking talks. If you had not actually been through any judicial process, but the elders thought you were up to something that they didn't like, they would give a talk. They wouldn't name you, but it would be very obvious they were talking about you. And then other people would avoid you. They would soft shun you. So this is, my opinion, what's going to happen. They're going to give marking talks to make sure everybody knows that what this kid did is terrible in the eyes of God or whatever. And that child will be shunned, but not officially or formally. They will just be avoided by the other witnesses. They will not be allowed to have association with the other witnesses' kids, etc. So this again is Watchtower weasel words. Officially, formally, child won't be shunned. In reality, yes, the child will be. And if the child does not repent and recant, by the time they are officially a legal adult in the United States, it's 18 years old, they will absolutely be disfellowshipped and shunned by everyone as soon as the Watchtower can legally get away with it. That is what I think this is really all about. That is what I think is going to happen. You can say, oh, we don't teach that. We don't shun children officially. But yeah, you do. Yeah, you will. And as soon as they're old enough to be considered an adult, you are going to formally, officially kick them out and shun them. This is how Watchtower works. They are scrambling to save their religious status, to get their funding, and to make sure Satan hands over the goods, which just, it blows my mind now that I think over it, having been out. To go in and demand that Satan give you his money, rather than saying, you know what, we're going to stand up for what we believe in, just like the apostles, we must obey God as ruler rather than men. We are going to stick to what we know is right. We will take the hit from the government. We don't need their money. Jehovah will provide everything that we need. We don't need them. And we don't have to officiate weddings. People can still go to the courthouse and get a secular document marrying them, at least in the United States. You wouldn't even have to, you don't have to go to a church to get married. You can get a secular marriage. That's the case in Norway. You can get a secular marriage. You can have a courthouse, marry you. You don't have to do it in the Kingdom Hall. And you could still have the ceremony in the Kingdom Hall. The elder could still give the talk that marries them, etc., in the eyes of God, blah, blah, blah. And then you could go get the marriage certificate in the courthouse. There's nothing about what Norway has said that prevents Jehovah's Witnesses from operating as usual and sticking to their guns about shunning children like they have for 70 years. They could do it. They're just losing funding. They can't be paid by the government if they're going to continue doing this. But nothing about what the Norway decision says stops Jehovah's Witnesses from existing as a group or as a religion, just not a state-sponsored one. But Watchtower wants that money. Watchtower wants that money, baby. They need Satan's dollars. And that is what this is all about. This is not about, oh, we have new light from God. And if they did get new light, if Norway forced them to go back to God and get new light on this, what does that say about the witnesses? If the devil had to push them to go get new light from God. None of this makes any sense if you look at it from a doctrinal position of Jehovah's Witnesses. But all of this makes perfect sense when you realize that Watchtower is just a business. This was a business decision. Not getting state funding is bad for business. Losing religious status is bad for business. This is not about the truth. This is not about God. This is not about the fight between good and bad and the coming impending destruction of the nations and Armageddon and all that. No, this is about Watchtower needing money. Watchtower losing money and Watchtower fighting to get it back. Period. But that is what I think. I would love to know what you think, so be sure to leave a comment below. Don't forget to like this video, to share it with people that you think might benefit from it. And if you want to support my work, you can click the join button below. If you don't see a join button, there's a link in the video description that allows you to join the channel, and I really appreciate it. As always, thanks for watching.